talking to Todd Tibbetts, and he is the Chief
Operating Officer.
Chief Operating Officer of the Metropolitan Wise?
YMCA of the Greater Twin Cities.
And I guess a couple of questions that I would like to ask you at this open house is basically about membership.
Sure.
How many memberships would you like to see at our Forest Lake Y at some point?
Well, YMCA like Forest Lake, we would anticipate in the first year, after about a year of operation, we'll have over 2,000 what we call units. And a unit can be a family, it can be an individual, a couple. So we'd anticipate over 2,000 units. Yeah.
That's quite a few. And how does one person or a family decide if they want to get a membership, and what are some of the things that they consider, and what are some of the advantages really of membership?
Well, as far as their decision, it comes down to value. And so what the YMCA tries really hard to do is make sure this is an incredible value for the family, as far as the healthy living lifestyles, the programs we have in youth development, and another key component for the YMCA is social responsibility. So we try to blend all that together to create value for the family. So as far as the choice then, they have to decide, do they want a family membership or an individual or something in the middle? And those prices range from around $65 a month for an individual upward to around $125 for a family. And if you use it and you're active and engaged in that membership, it's an incredible value that will transform your life.
And I've heard that some seniors or some families can get a reimbursement through a healthcare program for their health insurance?
Yes, there's actually a number of different incentives for different individuals that have certain insurance. For the senior population, there's two different programs, one called Silver Sneakers and one called Silver and Fit. That is a highly reimbursed program through their insurance provider. That's predominantly for individuals 65 and older. Then there's also a variety of different health providers that give incentives for their participants to be members of an organization like the YMCA as well, and that can range for something like $20 a month incentive off the rates that I listed a minute ago.
And when you guys have your grand opening, will you offer any specials or some grand opening special or what have you, something like that?
Well, I can tell you the grand opening will be special. And as far as what we do, we typically don't discount those membership rates. But what we might include in a package as far as for initial members, we're actually still planning those type of things, and we'll have something pretty special for the grand opening. Not sure exactly what that'll be yet.
A lot of people are familiar with the Lino Lakes Y. How does that compare to the plans that we've looked at tonight or the programming that Forest Lake might offer?
You could say there's a lot of similarities because when you look at the physical amenities inside the YMCA, the pool, the gym, the fitness classes, the fitness center, the things we have for youth, where a YMCA comes to life is with the people. So, and what this YMCA will have is people of Forest Lake. So this will be, when we talk, we'll probably have about 150 team members, staff, at this YMCA, and the majority of those would be from the Forest Lake and greater Forest Lake community. So that's a point I would really try to make, is that there will be physical amenities, and this will be state-of-the-art. So when you look at comparing it to other YMCAs, other fitness centers, whenever a YMCA is built, it is brand new and state-of-the-art. This will have the latest technology and the latest innovations that we can possibly try to include in this facility. But that's just bricks and mortar. Where this YMCA will come to life is in the people.
And how many people do you expect to employ with this YMCA?
We'll have about 150 different people, about 15 full-time, and then the remainder would be part-time people. And those would be kids, some of them kids with their first job as lifeguards in our kid stuff babysitting area. We have individuals in their 70s that work at some of our YMCAs. This is a part-time job that it gives them great meaning in what they're doing in their daily life, and it gives them great socialization. So we'll have all different sorts of employment opportunities.
When, in the past, so far this process, there's been a lot of people that have been really excited and for this Y, and then some people that have been vocally against it. How do you see, in the end, the Y bringing together those people and being really supportive and excited everyone about the Y.
Yeah, the YMCA at its best is in partnership and community. So when I've worked for the Y for 24 years, and during those times, the projects and the programs and the buildings that I've been most successful with is when the YMCA did it with others, whether it's hospitals, cities, counties, churches, others. Certainly, there's been moments of interest along this project, but I look towards the future, and I see what the YMCA can be and do in Forest Lake. So I look forward to working with the city and the schools and Fairview and others as we can work together to strengthen the life of people that live in Forest Lake and really add to the quality of life in Forest Lake.
Looking at the plans tonight, and there was some talk of a partnership with the schools, and that unfortunately that did not work out or did not come to pass. Do you see in the future, if our community grows, that the Y would grow along with it and there might be some additions to the Y?
Yeah, whenever we look at building a YMCA, we always try to consider the potential for future expansion, so just so you're not locked into the footprint that you have. And in this case, we do have the opportunity for future expansion if that time came.
And then basically, your website talks about Y Spirit. How will Y Spirit affect the Forest Lake area and surrounding communities?
Well, I mentioned earlier, the YMCA comes to life through its people, and for me, that is Y Spirit. It's the mission of the YMCA is really not something on a wall. It's not something that you put in a brochure. It's about the people helping people. It's about the Christian principles of the YMCA coming to life through programs, through spirit, mind, and body. So that's really, when you talk about the Y Spirit, that is the spirit. It's an equal balance of spirit, mind, and body, and community coming together, people helping one another. And hopefully the Y resembles that in everything that we do.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
I'm with Brian Kirk. He is the Director of Real Estate Management for the Y. And Brian, you played a big part in the plans here for the Forest Lake Y, I understand.
I interface with the architects.
And you're going to just maybe go through some of the boards that are here tonight so that some of the viewers at home can see, really what the Y is preliminary proposing for the Forest Lake area Y.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate this. I appreciate your time. This
you.
is great. Well, first I'd like to start out by talking about the elevation. And the easiest way to see this is probably in the rendered perspective that the architects have done. Now, through all of this, I'll remind you that this is really a preliminary design, and it's really subject to change. So we're right now in the first part of the design development, and so the colors of the building, sort of the way the rooms are laying out, all have an opportunity to change as we work through the final design process. But we're actually scheduled to start construction in July of this year, and so we're on a very fast track to get the design work done. So it's been a great opportunity for us to interact with the community members and see exactly what their opinions are about what we're designing and try to get those different comments and feedback incorporated into our design work. So to start out with, this is actually the elevation that faces the library. So if you're familiar with the site, the library is actually across our parking lot, across the library's parking lot, and then behind me here would actually be the library. So this is the front entry. It'll have a bike rack under it for those people that are interested in biking to the YMCA, so it shelters the bikes. In this perspective, you're able to see through the kids stuff area, and in a minute I'll introduce you to the kids stuff. Kids stuff is actually a program area where when you're working out in the facility, you can drop your kids off for 2 hours and we'll take care of them while you work out. So this is an indoor play area, 2 stories tall. Through the windows upstairs here, you can actually see the fitness area. These are little treadmills lined up along the windows. This area down here are community rooms where people can actually come rent out a community room and get access to the community room without being a member. So when you come into the entryway, you'll actually be able to get access to the community rooms, and then to the right, the gymnasium. So this large area right here is the gym. And one thing that you can't see in the rendering is the pool, which is located behind the building. It faces the east side of the building. And before we move on to floor plans, I'm going to point out right in this corner you can see a little peek of what's described as the splash pad in the drawings that I'll show you when we get over to the site drawings. Splash pad is a zero water, spray features. The water is recollected again on a concrete slab, recirculated through chlorinated system and heated, and then comes back out through these fancy little doodads that basically they're giant sprinklers for kids to play in the summertime. All right, so moving on to the floor plan, to give you the orientation here, this is the front door, faces east towards the library. So the parking lot is right out here. You'll enter in the front door. Earlier I was explaining that you can enter into the community room or the gymnasium off the front entryway. And that you're able to do that without actually going past the membership desk. So if you're a member of the YMCA, you come past the membership desk, check in here. So everything on this side of the membership desk is sort of a members only area. Everything on this side of the desk will have access by the community when the community is programming that space. So for example, if there was a youth sports class running, you'd be able to come in through the doors and meet your instructor here in the gymnasium. If you had a family reunion, be able to come in the entryway, come this way into the community room and meet your family in the community room without actually needing to come into the facility. So there's support bathrooms for both the spaces. So assuming that you're a member and you come into the lobby here, you check in. Your first stop would probably be into the locker rooms. This is a family locker room area. Again, a preliminary plan layout allows us to at least show you a little bit of what this looks like. A family locker room area is an area where families can come in, a co-ed area. You can bring your kids that are too young to go into an adult locker room and change your kids up and go into the pool for swim lessons. So I'm going to show you quickly the pool while we're sort of on the youth and family activity side of programming. Pool has two areas. One is a lap swimming area, a 25-yard pool with 4 lap lanes. This is actually a leisure pool, and it allows kids, toddlers, to play in a 6-inch to 12-inch area. It allows seniors to actually come in and ramp down into an area if you have mobility problems and work out in an area for group exercise classes. This right here is a current channel. Current channel is similar to a lazy river in that you can walk against the current for resistance or walk with the current so you don't have resistance. So if you had hip or knees or joint issues, you'd actually be able to come in here and work out in the current channel. And then of course when we're not using it for fitness, it's an open gym, open pool for kids, and this makes a great lazy river. It'll be packed with kids all floating in a circle. This area is really designated or set up for younger kids swim lessons. It goes from 3 feet to 3.5 feet, so younger kids are able to do swim lessons without flotation devices. Their instructor can be in a central location, and a new swimmer will learn how to swim back and forth in this area. During open swim, part of this is closed so that when kids are on the slide, they drop down into a safe area here for the slide. Not shown in this diagram, but right outside the pool area is where that splash pad is at. And it's an area about this big. Again, fancy sprinklers is probably the best way to describe it. So now I'm going to move back out of the pool into the locker rooms. There's a women's locker room, a men's locker room, an on-pool deck sauna. And so once you get yourself changed and head back out again, there's the gymnasium, the stairs that go up to the second floor. If I go down the hallway here, we're going to go past the community room, and this is that kid stuff area that I talked about. It's set up in a way that younger kids can get access to this middle area, sort of that infant to 2 or 3-year-old. This is a play area that's a 2-story height play area, play maze. So the kids go in, they're able to climb up and down this 2-story area that I talked about earlier. And then in the evenings when it's busy, we'd actually open up part of the community room as sort of let's say a 10 to 13-year-old play area. So now I'm going to bring you upstairs through the stairs here and onto the second floor. So again, here we are coming up the second floor. Again, the orientation is the library is to the east, which is up in this case. First thing to point out probably would be the walking track around the top of the pool. It'll probably be about 12 laps to the mile. Moving on to the fitness center, this is where you see your traditional cardio equipment, treadmills, ellipticals. Part of this area is set up as strength training. So you'll have your free weights in this area. Advanced training is an area that you can meet with a personal trainer. If you're familiar with TRXs or Pilates reformers, they'll do small group exercise classes in here and also allow you to meet one-on-one with a personal trainer. Along this side will be additional cardio equipment and also sort of a specialized area for meeting with personal trainers and a private stretching area down here. And as you walk past this area, there are 2 studios. Usually the studios are set up with a couple of different functions. One will be a spin studio for spin bikes. They also have group exercise, yoga, senior classes are available here. Again, sort of remind everybody that all of this is a preliminary design. We go through 2 more phases of design before this begins to get finalized. But for the most part, I think this is probably pretty true to the way it's going to start to lay out. All right, here we are at the site plan. The orientation has changed a little bit, so let me explain. The building now actually faces to our right. And this is the Washington County Library, their existing parking lot, and the new parking lot that the YMCA create. The parking lot, actually, we will have a shared agreement between the county and the YMCA to share some parking area. So we'll be able to use their parking and they'll be able to use ours. So this is the front door of the YMCA. We've already gone through the floor plans, but just to give you a quick orientation, the gymnasium is located right here. These are the community rooms. This is the pool, the location of the splash pad that I mentioned earlier. The splash pad will actually be set up on an agreement with the city to allow the public during certain times of the summer to have access to the splash pad. So here's a little path that leads actually to the outdoor splash pad, or members will be able to access the splash pad right from the natatorium. So to our west is some water retention areas down here. It's all stormwater managed. Those of you that are interested in site development will understand that. All of the water is collected on site and goes to water retention ponds. So that's pretty much a quick overview of the site. If anybody has any questions, you can reach us at the YMCA. Thank you.
So now that we've seen the plans, and they're really interesting, these preliminary plans, I guess I just have a couple of questions. And the first one would be, does this plan, is it modeled after any Y that's currently in existence, or is this a completely new plan for the Y?
Sure. Well, let me first start out by mentioning that we do market research before we come into a community. So we try to get a pretty good understanding of how big the community is and what size the YMCA should be. So when Forest Lake approached us, we were, it seemed like the model that probably best fit the community was the Elk River YMCA. So some of the elements in the design work that I showed you today will actually, you could see at the Elk River YMCA. So in terms of the size, both of the branches are 54,000 square feet. But when you come into a community, each one of the branches have to fit the community in its own unique way. So this branch is taken Elk River, but it's also, we've modified things a little bit to kind of adapt what we think the best needs are going to be for the community. For example, the entryways into the gymnasium, similar to Elk River, and in the community room, which is a little unique for the Forest Lake YMCA. And the size of the locker rooms and the pool all get modified a little bit, but in terms of comparing the two YMCAs, they're very similar.
Is there anything that's different, or something that, you know, when you're building, you know, in 2015 or 2016 that you consider with advances in construction or energy efficiencies or things like that?
Yep. Well, we've kind of stopped trying to do LEED certification, but all of the designs that we do, the new buildings that get built, are all energy efficient in terms of the current building code. So obviously the operating expense of a building is important to us. So the insulation in the roof, the window glazing, the way things are designed, we try to meet those energy codes even though we're not LEED certified.
And my last question would be, you know, this is a fairly fast, process for the Y, you know, in terms of start to finish, and
Sure.
we have a YMCA. Do you think that you'll be able to meet the schedule, and do you plan to still open exactly when?
Yeah. All right. Well, you never know what's ahead of you, and so I don't want to overcommit. But right now, we are definitely scheduled to break ground in July, and usually construction will take about 9 to 10 months.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Well, I'm here with Council Member Mike Freer. And Mike, this is a great open house this evening. What are your thoughts overall about some of the plans and programming that you've seen here being presented at the Y open house?
I think the preliminary plans look good. It looks like they're going to have all of the splash pads and all the things that was promised. The programming sounds like it's going to be a great asset to our community.
And as far as the open house goes, what do you think of how that's, why the open house? This is sort of a process that the Y is following, and how do you feel the process is going as it culminates really in the Y and the big grand opening?
Well, it's part of the CUP process, the conditional use permit process, to have an open house or a public forum, and I think the Y is doing a good job of following the process. But either way, they're doing more than they're required by providing a lot of this information with visuals and things like that. They just have to basically come in and have people be able to express their opinions. So I'm really impressed that they're following the process.
That's good. And then as far as, there's been, in the past, some people that have been for the Y coming to the community and people sort of vocal about being against the Y coming to the community. Do you feel that the community will come together in the end and support the Y?
I think the community, some people in the community have a very long memory, and I think there's some people that'll never be fine. Other people will come together. But ultimately, I think the Y will be an asset to our community in the long term.
And as far as yourself and your family, do you plan to be a Y member?
No. I was a Y member in White Bear Lake. I do not plan on joining. I don't like how they came in. I don't think that's any secret, and so I would not support them with that.
In general, do you think that the Y will have enough membership to flourish in Forest Lake?
I think they will. It may not be as quick as they want to at the very beginning, but ultimately, I think they'll get the membership. And I don't want the YMCA to fail. I think everybody wants it's coming. Let's make it as successful as we possibly can. So I hope they get every single member that they're dreaming of and more.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, I'm with Shannon Peterson, and Shannon is a mother of 3. She's a longtime resident of Forest Lake area, and she's also the director of Lakes International Language Academy, which I understand will be a neighbor to the Y.
That's right. Yes, we're very excited to be a neighbor to the Y, and can't wait for them to come in. I've just learned about some of the programming that they've got going at otherwise, and can't wait to see what will be available here for our students and for my own personal children as well.
And then as neighbors with the Y, do you think that will bring a lot of community to Headwaters and a lot more traffic and people?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that that area is being built up right now, and a lot more people are aware of it. But I think having something like the Y there is really going to attract more people to housing and hopefully to see our school as well.
That's wonderful. And then what do you think of the programming? Are you a member of the Y, or are your children, or do you think that you might be a member of the Y?
Yeah, none of our family members are members of the Y at the moment, but we will certainly look into it when they open here. It just hasn't been convenient for us to go, out of town, and we do everything centered right here in Forest Lake. So we'll look at it when the Y opens here. We're really excited.
And it is really convenient. And
Yes.
What have you learned about some of the programming that interests you here?
Well, we were just talking with Sam over here, and he is running the Youth in Government program. And so we're talking to him about doing sort of a modified Model UN with our grades 6, 7, and 8 next year. So we've got a meeting set up with him. I was looking at some of the sports that are offered after school to see if those could be offered for students in grades 6, 7, and 8. And we'll just see what we can partner on.
Lots of interesting opportunities that might come your way. So, well, thank you very much, Shannon, for the interview. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Well, I'm with Aaron Parrish, and he's the city administrator for the city of Forest Lake. And Aaron, so what do you think about this open house tonight? There's a lot of people that have been here and have come through to tour and find out all about the Y.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity to invite the community in, get a first look at the YMCA plans that'll be going before the Planning Commission in May, and really starting the process of moving the development of that site forward and the Headwaters development. Really great opportunity for people to learn more about programming, learn about the site plan, and then just really to give feedback on what facility elements are in the building, and just been positive. A lot of people are really excited with the proposed layout, and I know the architects have also received some really good feedback that they can hopefully incorporate into the project moving forward.
And really, the citizens here today have actually written on cards to provide feedback. And do you think that the architects and the Y administration will read those and take those into consideration?
Yeah, absolutely. This is really the focus of the meeting, is to get that feedback from the community on the site plan and on the building plans, and before that advances to the Planning Commission. And really, this is a bigger project for Forest Lake, but this is something we do on many development projects where prior to coming in forward to the Planning Commission and City Council, we just ask that they invite the neighbors in. In this case, we invited the whole community in because it really is a community asset, but we do try to do that to provide outreach and just to allow people to ask questions in a little bit more of an informal setting than as opposed to the more formal City Council and Planning Commission meetings that they would otherwise have the opportunity to attend.
And have you spoken to some people who were initially against the Y, and then some people who were maybe initially for the Y? And do you see that coming together, or is there kind of a meeting in the middle at all here?
Well, I think certainly most of the disagreement focused on the financing. And I think the folks that ultimately disagreed with the financing on the front end probably aren't any more excited about that than what they were originally. But as they move forward and see the YMCA concept and how it's going to operationalize in Forest Lake, I don't think anyone ever had a concern about that. I think people thought it would be value added to the community. They're excited about the facility elements. I think they're getting some constructive feedback on what the ultimate exterior looks like and just some design features. But overall, there wasn't a lot of people that were against the Y as a concept. It was just about how it was brought into Forest Lake and the financing. And with people realizing that step is passed and that decision was made, I think people now are interested in focusing on how this can be best positioned as an asset for the community and their families.
And you obviously feel that this is an asset to the community. And you yourself personally, do you plan to become a member of the Y once you've seen all the programming here tonight?
Well, it's obvious. I certainly could use a membership at the Y and spend some time working out and all that. But I think we will. For us, this is just more personal, but for us, we don't currently belong to a fitness facility, and the reason for that is generally childcare. We have a young family, and the Y does provide that, and so I think it's certainly something we will explore, and think there is value. And just from an overall perspective, and even putting my economic development hat on, facilities like this, people do move to communities for recreational amenities. It is a part of the quality of life in Forest Lake, and it does have an integration. Now, quantifying that can be difficult, but I do feel that ultimately it will add value and enhance the quality of life for the people in Forest Lake.
And really healthy living.
Yeah, this really ties in nicely to some of the community health initiatives like Health Up and other, certainly wellness initiatives that are out there. And I think it'll be a value added in terms of bringing some programming into the community that wasn't currently there, but also just kind of providing a hub, a place for people in the community to connect, whether it be socially, whether it be physically, any number of dimensions. It's really going to serve those, and it's going to be a connecting point for people in Forest Lake, among others. There's certainly other connecting points in the community, but this will certainly be another one, and I think a lot of people are excited. I've talked to a lot of my neighbors that I live by that have come out tonight, and they really are looking forward to what opportunities the facility will provide them and their families.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yep, thank you, Sarah.